you shouldn't have listened.
You can see it if you pause at the right second. The reflection blinks a heartbeat after I do. My name's Rachel. I live alone in a renovated duplex on Maple Row. The mirror came with the lease, an antique as tall as the hall. 2 nights ago, I was locking up when the lights flickered and the mirror flashed like a camera. In that white blink, I saw my hallway crowded. Copies of me, same sweatshirt, same hair, all staring forward. Then the power steadied, and I was alone again. Later, brushing my teeth, I caught a movement in that mirror that shouldn't exist. The version of me stayed still while I turned away. I laughed too fast. When I leaned back in, the reflection had turned its head the rest of the way and was smiling. At midnight, my phone woke itself. The front camera showed the hallway behind me, empty. Yet in the reflection behind that, my copy stood half out of frame, head tilted, lips moving. The recording cut, but the thumbnail preview shows teeth. Too many for a smile. The next night, every reflective surface fogged. I wiped the mirror and felt resistance, like glass with skin behind it. A handprint rose from the other side, fingers long, nails tapping once politely. The tap echoed down the wood floor like knuckles inside bone. When I stepped back, my reflection didn't. It leaned closer, mouth opening wider than should hurt. I threw a towel over it. The fabric stayed sucked against the surface, held by breath. I sleep in the living room now. Every morning, the towel lies folded on the floor and the mirror is clean. Too clean, as if someone polished it from their side. There's a knock in the recording, right before the scream. I was the only one in the stall. Name's Dean. I was fueling on Route 16 during the outage, needed the restroom, the one lit by a single emergency strip over the sink. The first knock came from the mirror, not the door. A quick tap, 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 like glass under pressure. I thought wind. The next one came from inside the stall wall, hollow, patient. I crouched to look beneath and saw bare feet pointing toward mine. I waited for movement. None. I kicked the door open. The next stall was empty. When I straightened, the faucet was running. Steam rose, heavy for cold water. On the mirror, a handprint appeared backward so I could read what was written in the condensation. Wait. I said, no. The tap stopped. Then all 3 sinks turned on at once, scalding. Steam burst so thick the alarms should have triggered. In that fog, I saw a head's shadow lean from the ceiling vent, hair hanging, face blacked out by heat. I bolted. Outside, the station was dark, attendant gone. My phone pinged, video notification. It had filmed while my pocket was shut. In the clip, I'm standing in the restroom doorway, but something behind me in the mirror is still walking toward the stalls. I deleted it. It reappeared an hour later, labeled 1 of 3. I don't open notifications anymore. The count is at 5 of 3 now. Something's still sending them, all from the same restroom Wi-Fi that no longer exists. The baby monitor crackled and someone hummed the lullaby before I did. I'm Nora. My daughter's crib sits under a streetlight that went out last week. Since then, every night's been too quiet, until it isn't. At 1:12 a.m., the monitor whispered the melody, exact pitch of my hum, but breathy, slow. I checked the room. My daughter slept fine, but her mobile spun, though the air was still. I stopped it. The tune stopped. The next night, a new sound. Footsteps in carpet. Light, quick, circling the crib once, then nothing. The sensor light didn't trigger. The camera feed showed the blanket rise as if small hands pushed from beneath, then flatten. Third night, power cut for 3 seconds. When it came back, the feed was colorless, grayscale, and in the corner sat a blur the shape of a child, knees pulled up, head tucked. It looked at the lens without eyes. I lifted my daughter, whispering, "We're leaving." The mobile above us swayed hard enough to snap a string. One wooden bird fell, landing upright on its tail. The monitor on the dresser whispered my name in a child's voice that wasn't hers. We sleep at my sister's now. Her baby monitor clicks on at exactly 1:12 a.m. No feed, just a hum through static. The same lullaby, one note off. She says maybe it's interference. I don't answer. The footage shows the doors opening to an empty hall, but someone inside whispers, "Hold it." I'm Glenn, security at a medical complex built before I was born. Backup generators hum like a choir under the floor when the main power fails. Last month, 2:37 a.m., I hit B1, doors closed. Halfway down, the lights dimmed and a hand slapped the glass between panels. Not mine. I pulled my own arm close. The print stayed visible, sliding downward like someone losing grip on the inside. The elevator stopped the tween floors. The speaker popped once, then played breathing directly into my ear. Not through the system, but beside my head. The panel lights cycled random numbers until they landed on -2, a level that doesn't exist. Doors opened to a corridor made of concrete with no finish, no signs, no exit lamps. At the far end, an old gurney stood half in shadow. I called out, heard my voice echoed twice, second one a note late. When I stepped forward, both echoes stopped, but something coughed right behind me. I hit G. The doors shut an inch slower than normal, as if rubber hands pressed back. When I reached ground, the security feed for that car showed it still empty, descending again on its own. Destination, -2. They sealed that shaft last week after the car failed inspection. At night, when I sweep the lobby, the up arrow lights by itself and holds for exactly 7 seconds, long enough for doors to open and breathe out a chill you can see. Every photo I took that night shows someone standing closer, but I was alone. My name's Owen. I do landscape surveys. This was a job behind an abandoned farmhouse near Fairvale. I took the first picture at sunset. Fence line, tall grass, empty. In the photo, behind the wire, a figure stands half hidden in weeds. I thought, lens flare. Took another. The figure was closer, mid-stride, features blurred like water. The air went still. The grass pressed one way toward me, not wind, deliberate. My next shot caught a face near the frame edge, eyes white as reflection, mouth a straight, stretched line. I lowered the camera. Nothing there. By full dark, the farmhouse windows lit faint from within, though the grid's been down for years. Through the viewfinder, I saw myself in one window, camera up, same angle. I dropped the phone. It kept clicking pictures until battery died, each frame darker, the figure now standing behind me. At dawn, I checked the gallery. Last image, time-stamped 2:59 a.m., shows my back, shoulders hunched, and a hand on each. The shadow between those hands is taller than the barn roof. I deleted everything. The phone screen flashes that last photo when it boots, just for a blink. Me, and what's behind me leaning close enough to share breath. You can hear the basement breathing on the recording, slow in, slow out, right before the washing machine door unlatches by itself. My name's Evan, End unit row house on Birch and 10th, stone cellar, sump pump older than me. The storm knocked power at 8:52, and the house settled like an animal going to ground. At 9:07, the pump coughed even though there was no power. The sink trap burped cold and the air shifted, a damp lung exhale that made the string bulbs sway. On the brick near the floor, pale hand-sized ovals appeared in the condensation, 5 of them in a line, like something was bracing to push through. I told myself it was temperature. I drew a chalk line across the washing machine door and went upstairs. At 9:31, the door chime rang once. No power, no transformer tone. And the house answered with silence I could hear. When I came down, the chalk line was split. The door sat open. Inside the drum, my work shirts were rearranged into a nest with the sleeves tucked under, and one cuff buttoned itself around the rubber gasket like a hand holding on. I sprinkled flour from the steps to the far wall because the internet loves proof. I set my phone on a paint can, recording. At 9:44 off camera, a low knock 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 came from behind the cinder block. The video's audio shows it clearly, regular as a clock. On screen you can watch the flower dimple in a neat barefoot path from the wall to the washer and stop at the paint can. Then the picture jolts as if a finger tapped the lens. The floor got colder under my socks, not all at once, but in a moving patch that traveled to my feet like spilled night. I turned off the phone. The bulb flickered and steadied. Something slid behind the stacked paint cans near the crawl space, metal on concrete, then went still. I said, "Anyone there?" because my mouth hates a vacuum. From the crawl space vent came a dry suck like a person drinking air through their teeth. At 10:03, the sump pit cover shifted a quarter inch and clicked back. Through the gap rose a smell like pennies and muddy knees. 4 wet finger streaks dragged across the concrete toward me, leaving no puddle, just darker gray where the water never was. I stepped back and bumped the support post. When I looked up, a face-sized, clean circle had appeared in the whitewash at my eye height, as if someone had pressed their forehead there and warmed the stone. A minute later, upstairs, my front door camera, dead on battery since the outage, pushed a notification. Person detected, 10:04 p.m. The thumbnail shows my front hallway from a few inches higher than the camera mount, as if a taller device filmed it. In the frame, I'm walking toward the basement, and something behind me in the reflection of a picture frame is already at the bottom of the stairs. I went back down with a flashlight because pride will kill you slower than fear. The beam cut across the washer window. On the glass, 5 oval prints fogged into visibility from the inside, and held there, fingertips lower than they should be. The bulb popped. The dark moved closer by pressure alone, the way a crowded room does. Near my ear, close enough to feel it. Someone breathed in and didn't breathe out. I woke, sitting on the 4th step with grit on my teeth and a brace of bruises around my upper arm in the shape of fingers, thumb set too low. The flour was smooth as water poured over stone, except for one perfect little toe mark near the phone. The video ends at 9:44:19 with the picture lunging forward at the lens. If I hold my breath in the shower now, the drain gurgles twice, answers with a longer breath, and my bathroom mirror fogs a mouth-height oval that moves when I don't. The dashcam kept recording after I killed the engine. You can see the empty lane and then a handprint slide down my windshield from the inside. I'm Marcus. I do document runs between lots, which means sleeping in my car more than I admit. Power was down across Deckard garage. The only light was the little red eyes on dead pay stations. Level 4 smelled like cold rubber and echoes. I parked by a concrete pillar and checked my watch. 12:22 a.m. When When I looked up, the time on the entrance ticket still read 12:22, even though I'd pulled it 20 minutes before. The ink bled a little, like it had just been printed. The first footstep happened 3 rows over. Slow heel click that turned into a drag, then stopped. My key fob chirped once, though my thumb hadn't moved. In the side mirror between 2 SUVs, the dark wasn't equal. One slice cut darker than the rest, vertical and tall, as if a person were standing there absorbing what little light existed. I locked up. The rear window fogged from inside in a perfect circle at face height and shrank as if someone drew a breath. I wiped it clean with my sleeve. The fog circle kept shrinking, ending as a tight little oval where a mouth would purse. On the front glass, a smear slid downward, not from liquid, but from something warm melting the cold as it moved. The pedestrian door to the stairwell whispered open on its pneumatic closer. No one. Then whispered shut, stopping a hair from the frame. In that hair-width gap, a thin yellow strip of the stairwell light appeared and went black. Appeared and went black, like a tall shape was pacing and blocking it with each pass. The parking lane arrows turned wrong. My headlights picked their paint-up slant, not the direction the concrete meant. At 12:39, someone jiggled my driver handle from inside. A polite test. The door stayed shut. My seatbelt tugged once like a hand testing a leash. I pushed the fob horn. The sound went flat like it hit a blanket. 3 parking spots away, a ticket stub flipped over by itself and slid under a car that is too low to watch something slide under. My phone woke. Front camera, me in the driver's seat. Behind me in the glass of the rear hatch, 2 pale ovals hovered where eyes should be, except they were too far apart, edges soft like old bulbs. My jaw clicked. The rear hatch latched, unlatched with a friendly little snick. I did not turn around. After a minute that lasted a year, the stairwell door kissed shut all the way. The ticket in my hand had bled a new time into the white. 12:22 again, like the garage kept insisting I hadn't left my car. When the power came back, the pay station spat my card out and printed a receipt that read, "In 12:22, out 12:22. In the reflection on its glass, a tall something stood at my shoulder, and for a blink my eyes were the same dull yellow as its reflection. I keep receipts in a Ziploc now. The one from that night smears wet if I touch the time. Sometimes I unlock my car, and the point.
Rear window already holds a clean circle, patient, like a mouth waiting to finish the sentence I didn't say. I still have the ticket. My compartment shows occupied at 3:11 a.m., but I never opened the door. I'm Eliza. I took the overnight upstate in a roomette, door latch that clicks like a polite throat, mirror on the fold-down sink. The conductor joked about ghosts and then lost his smile when the lights browned. At 1:04, the corridor ticked with footsteps that stopped at my door. No knock, just the penny-rolling weight of someone shifting in place. I watched the shadow line under the door. Nothing crossed. When I breathed on the sink mirror, letters cleared backwards so I could read them. Don't. The train rocked, slowed for a long trestle. The overhead speaker hissed. In the static, 2 breaths synced to mine until I held mine. Then a second voice kept breathing without me. The latch lifted a fraction and went back like it had thought better. At 2:27, my window reflection showed the dark outside, trees sliding. In the glass, I could see me, and behind me, the folded night of the closed door.
that folded night, a face hung as if submerged, features too steady for moving train. I turned. Blank door. Turned back. The face had moved closer in the glass without the world moving. Mouth a longer line than mouth's gat. I palmed the emergency call. The conductor spoke through the grill, voice coming from a foot to the left of the speaker. "Ma'am?" I answered. My voice came from the right of my own head, one beat behind. The corridor footfalls started again, heel-toe, then changed to a drag that matched the sway of the car. At 3:11, my watch, the carriage clock, and the power outlet light all froze on the same minute. The window went black, not like night, but like stone. In that stone, I saw the compartment from above. Bed, sink, me, shot like a security camera would if roomettes had cameras, which they don't. The angle slowly tilted until I looked directly down at my face, eyes closed, and a second me standing at the door with my palm flat to the metal. The latch pushed up against my hand like the door was asking a question. The air got colder in a circle around my throat, not a draft, a hand learning where the hollow is. I said no, and the word stuck halfway between teeth and tongue. The last half of it finished itself in the opposite corner of the room. When the minute finally passed, the lights brightened like the train remembered to be a train. The conductor knocked and opened the door with his key. He apologized without meeting my eyes. "We get pressure changes," he said. On the outside of my door, 4 clean ovals of skin oil glowed at face height where no face could have been, and a 5th thumb sat too low. Sat too low. I still take sleepers. I pack painter's tape and cross the latch with it. In the morning, the tape is always smooth, no break. Except one night the word "don't" had pressed itself into the glue from the back. If you pause the audio, there's a second hello riding under mine. It sounds like me years ago. I'm Jamie. I manage Brightbox storage off County 9. Corrugated doors, numbered aisles, motion sensors that text my phone when pigeons sneeze wrong. The grid faltered at 11:06. We went to backup, which should be nothing more than a beep every minute. It wasn't. At 11:14, Zone C texted, "Motion detected 13-0," a timestamp that didn't match any clock. I checked the live. Black. Then a frame. Just one. A light in Unit C13. Bare bulb glow, swinging slow. The unit that's sealed for non-payment. Has been for 6 months. Our bulbs are on a breaker, not inside. I went out with the big metal torch because a small one feels like a lie. The row smelled like cardboard and rain. C13's door had a hand smear across the dust at belly height, moving from lock to center and back, the kind you'd make finding the seam in the dark. I touched the padlock. It thrummed a low note under my finger like a tuning fork that never stops. At 11:22, my phone buzzed again. Door open, C13, with a thumbnail of the corrugated slats halfway up. The door in front of me was down, lock intact. The thumbnail showed shoes just inside, white nurse soles from 30 years ago, and a length of floral drape pooled on concrete. The next alert read, "Door closed," with a black square. I cracked the lock and lifted an inch because Courage thinks inches matter. A cold breath hit my face as if the unit were the throat of a big thing. The torch beam cut through dust and hit a framed mirror leaned to the wall. In the mirror, my light showed the unit from a different angle, more space behind the boxes than there should be, and a shoulder turning away, not mine. I dropped the door, The corrugations sang that cheap metal whine. 3 doors down, another unit rattled an answering note. The row lights stuttered and stayed. On the concrete under C13, their footprints came into being one by one in dust, toes spread like hands, walking out from under the door and stopping at my boots. I said, "Who's there?" and hated how it sounded. A voice said, "Hello," from the far end of the row in my tone, but with an old cigarette scratch I quit a decade ago. I recorded a burst audio without thinking. Playback shows my hello on the top wave and a second lower hello underneath, lagging by half a beat, as if the room answered from memory. I relocked C13, double-checked the tag. In the morning, the padlock had skin oil prints on the shackle like fingers had hung on until first light. The motion log shows entries all night with the same wrong minute. 13. There is no 13 on our system, but you can hear it tick once in silence when the minute flips from 12 to 14. Like time hits a step it refuses to label. I still make the rounds. I don't speak in the rows. If I forget and say hello, something at the far end says it back the way I used to, and my phone records a breath between the words that doesn't belong to either of us. The lighthouse lens reflected me with my eyes open, except mine were shut. I'm Claire, volunteer caretaker at the Point Isabel Light, museum hours only, except storms need friends. The grid cut at 10:09. Foghorn died mid-moan and never finished the note. At 10:22, the gallery room filled with a sea smell, old as a wreck. The Fresnel lens should sit quiet like a crown, but a pale band of light walked around its glass all by itself, slow, as if something outside were passing a lamp. There was only fog, thick enough to taste. I climbed to the lantern room with a headlamp. The panes were sweating on the inside. When I wiped one, letters appeared backwards so I could read them. Look down. Against training and sense, I did. In the mirror-polished brass under the lens, I saw the gallery from above and me on the stairs, and a tall shape standing one step below my feet, head tipped, easily the height of the lens if it straightened. A gull hit the glass and left a wet star. There was no bird outside when I leaned. To a fault, no sound of wings, just the wet star drying from the edges inward as if tongued. The clock on the museum desk downstairs chimed once, though it's decorative, and the logbook on the lectern turned a page in a room without wind. At 10:41, a second band of light, yellow, tired, walked around the lens the other way. Where they crossed, the glass showed my face, then didn't. Where my eyes should be were 2 pale coins that brightened and faded like breathing. The gallery below creaked. The steps in the iron spiral rang one at a time from bottom to top like someone climbing very slowly. Except the ringing reached me with no foot between. The lens stopped turning where I stood, light band hanging over my head like a halo that didn't want me. In the reflection of the curved panes, the room multiplied. 6, 8, 12 Claires at 12 angles, each with a slightly different mouth. One of the mouths opened too far and stayed, and a hand came up from the brass reflection and pressed 5 ovals against the underside of the lens, where no hand can reach. I shut my eyes because I am foolish like everyone. Behind the lids, the light still strobed. I saw the lantern room from outside, fog pressed like cotton against the glass, and a face leaned to the pane where mine would be if I were outside looking in. When I opened, the pane in front of me held a clear oval at face height, no breath in a room that had turned cold. Dawn finally diluted the fog to salt smoke. In the logbook, the last line reads 10:09 in my handwriting, left-leaning, a habit I don't have, followed by 3 words I didn't write. Left it open. The lens wears 5 smears the shape of fingertips under its lowest ring. My eyes water when I climb now. The horn still hasn't finished that note. Sometimes I hear it try, and the sound gets swallowed right before it should get loud, like a mouth closes around it from the inside.